to start by introducing myself, and then I have a little bit of agenda of what's to come, and I'll explain the title in a bit more detail. But first, I should make it clear that I'm not a marketer or marketeer. However, I am bringing the perspective of somebody who deeply understands how these AI systems work. I just received my doctorate officially about a week ago, so thank you. In the interim, I have been lecturing the master's, the MSc course in AI at Imperial College London. And kind of as I've been transitioning from academia to more industry, I've consulted various different companies on AI projects, both technical in nature, training, and so forth. So I think one or two of my slides kind of shares my experience with where I think AI can go within small and large companies itself. So there's a QR code there if you want to access the slides. Also, it has my personal contact details on there, so feel free to reach out to me and talk about AI. Obviously, it's my bread and butter. I've spent 4 years deeply studying this stuff. The next slide, I'm going to talk about why I picked this title, and then talking about what is the, answering the question of how to save your job. And say there's a large amount of overlap between what I'm speaking about here and the talk by Liam just 2 talks ago about thinking strategically. And then we're going to dive into front and back end marketing, which are terms that I've come up with, but I will explain them when we reach the relevant point in the slides. Okay, wow, my notes are small. Okay, cool. So why did I pick this title? Well, actually, it was a requirement by MadFest to have an attention-grabbing headline, so that was probably reason number 1. But more importantly, in the time that I've been investigating marketing, I've been hearing people being worried about GenAI and whether it will replace their jobs. Now, I'm going to answer this question straightforwardly. At this point in time, no. But AI is a rising tide. And what I mean by this is we're at the point in the development of this technological ecosystem where the people who adopt it right now are likely to be the people who will see advantages immediately. However, it's becoming more democratized. And when everybody has access to this kind of technology, it's going to be a level playing field. And the thing which will distinguish you is what's been distinguishing you as a company so far, is your creativity. So what I want to do is kind of rephrase this question into how do you see your relationship and your responsibility with AI? Now, I'm imagining that all of you here have, whether in your personal capacity or professional capacity, used ChatGPT. And I think you've seen the power of this, right? You've seen that, hey, we can do what we were doing previously at a scale which is a lot faster and has a lot higher level of productivity. And I'm going to try and give ideas, open your minds into how you can stop thinking about this as just a content creation or copy creation machine and try to utilize this tech to actually create both front-end change and back-end change, again, terms that I will explain within your business. Now, one thing I want to say is, first of all, thank you for coming here, and the fact that all of you individually are here at this talk at MadFest means that you are opportunists, that you're looking to stay ahead of the curve and learn about how this technology works. So as we move through this presentation, I want you to keep this question in mind. What is painful in your job? And what takes up more time and money that you think it should do? And as I try to teach a little bit more about AI, how do you see AI actually improving these costly and lengthy processes? Now, one thing I will note is while I do have a generally positive outlook about the creative industry and its symbiosis with AI, I think there are things that will change. So let's take product photography, for example. This might be typically outsourced to a photography agency or the likes. Now, with tools like Stable Diffusion and other image generation models, the cost of creating lifestyle-based images is going severely down. So despite me thinking that the ecosystem between agencies and clients will stay as it is, I do think there needs to be adoption in terms of, hey, what are our responsibilities as an agency or in terms of the client, and how can we make sure that we're not still charging 100 to 500 pounds per product image, where Stable Diffusion can create this for cents on the dollar. Okay, so Before I, sorry, it's not changing on this little screen here. Okay, cool. All right, before I dive into the main meat of this talk, there's this quote that I came across recently by Andrew Chen, who helped grow Uber. He's now an investor at A16Z. And he's talking about the creation of cars. And he says, as the creation of cars came to be, you could predict gas stations, but you couldn't predict LA. So what he means by this is, before cars came around, there were horses. And horses needed food, fuel, water to sustain them from point A to B. Now, cars fulfill the same role as horses. They take something from A to B. And just as horses needed fuel on their road, cars also need or they needed food, cars also need some sustenance on the road as well. And therefore, you'd be able to predict gas stations if you knew that cars were going to trend. However, you wouldn't be able to predict LA, which is a bunch of different suburbs which are connected by highways that only cars can traverse. You wouldn't be able to predict Walmart, which leads its existence within these suburbs, again, being connected by cars. And you wouldn't be able to predict the economic boom in the Middle East, which was largely fueled as a result of increased transportation and demand for fuel. And we're kind of at this point with AI, where as adoption in AI grows, so does the demand for compute. Therefore, the price of semiconductors rise, and this means NVIDIA gets rich. And it also means that other geopolitical tensions might actually be caused. But all that stuff aside, focusing more on marketing, I want to open this question up to the audience. What's going to happen to marketing in the next few years with respect to AI? Or how do you think AI will change marketing in the next few years? So just one or two answers would be great. Could you be a bit more specific? What roles are you talking about in particular? Or
So it could be creative, it could be data, it could be tech, even PR. You know, is AI going to be writing our press releases and we're editing them? I think AI will touch everything.
Cool. Does anybody have any other thoughts about how they think they're... Hey.
I think better evaluation with market research, taking big data and summarising it really quickly. So I think decision making will be better and predictability. So I think it's more strategic rather than the creative.
Cool. And last one?
Looking at how the targeting, the creative, and the optimization of that. So looking at how AI will be able to position the right creative and the right person at the right time, but then also automating all of the bidding and things like that to really change creation, the media agency's role, paid.
Cool, awesome. So those are some great answers, definitely not what I thought about when I was writing this. And some of these answers kind of imagined a world which didn't fundamentally change, where user behaviors were the same as they currently are, but we just sprinkled a little bit of AI on top of it. And this is kind of what I meant by we can predict gas stations, but maybe not LA. Now, I could talk about what I think or how I think AI will actually change the world in the next decade or so, but I think that's mostly moot practice at this point in time because you guys are here looking for actionable pieces of information here today. And I believe, based on what I've been hearing at marketing conferences and talking to these companies within the past year or so, that we're ready to talk more about the second-order effects of AI and not just using AI to create content. So I think this point is worth repeating. I want you guys to come out of this talk not thinking that AI is synonymous with ChatGPT, but thinking, hey, now that this power exists within publicly available tools, how can we utilize this to actually create change and scale productivity in our company? Now, I've created these two classifications. Maybe the marketing world has their own terms for this. I'm calling this front and back end marketing. And the distinction between these two are that front-end marketing are what consumers see, okay? So this could be if you've recorded an ad or some dialogue in one accent, then you want to change it to another accent or convert that text translate that text into a different language. It could be creating synthetic human avatars for video generation, something that you're putting in front of consumers. Back-end marketing, I think, is inherently a lot more varied because different companies have different internal processes which occur within those companies, and they need specific solutions to those different processes that they actually have. Now, there are probably vendors here at MadFest which serve the back-end marketing role, but I think naming them would not be valuable because they're not generally applicable to everything here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a case study of one front-end marketing campaign and one consultation that I've had, which is more on the back-end side of things. I think between the two of these, we can start to paint a picture of like how powerful and effective AI can be in terms of scaling and operationalizing processes that you've currently facing both on the front-end and back-end side of companies. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this brand called Dr. Squatch. They're a D2C brand which sells soap. Not the biggest company in the world, but quite a cool, let's say, independent brand. And what I'm showing here is one of the better use cases that I've seen for an AI-powered front-end marketing campaign. I'm sorry that it's quite small. I'll run through the images in a second. But to kind of tell the story, using AI, they've managed to achieve a 26% response rate to emails. Okay? I don't mean a 26% increase. I mean a flat 26% response rate to emails. So that's 1 in 4 customers are taking 2 minutes out of their day to actually talk and respond to you. And the AI-based personalization they did was absolutely trivial. What they've done is they've recorded a base video, which is this video that you see on the left, and they've just overlaid somebody's name, just so the lip movement and the sound sounds natural to the voice of the person which is actually speaking. So it really feels personal to the individual. Now, different base videos were sent for different points in the customer's journey. So some were sent on welcome, some were sent on abandoned checkout, some were sent if they were a returning customer or if they hadn't visited the product in a long time. And the UX also recognized when the video had finished playing and prompted a user to take an action at the end of it. And that's what the screenshot on the right is showing. So once the video is finished playing, it says, hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Send me a few words. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, and I get it. Response rate is a vanity metric. It's not an objective increase in sales. But the point is that this point of communication allows you to upsell your product or connect with your user in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do so. Now, I want to see if we can take this a bit further than just simple video-based personalization. So one example could be if you collect birthday information of your customers, you could then send out a personalized campaign to them on their birthday, or maybe you're selling flowers and it's Valentine's Day and they didn't order the separate pieces of chocolate that you're trying to upsell on your website. You could send them a video-based email or an email with a video in it and say, oh, hey, Adrian, or whatever their name is, here's the happiness that your wife is missing out on, and show like a model smiling as she's eating chocolates and so forth. But let's go further than that. What can we do if we were to empathize with the user further, or even just incorporate elements of play? As I mentioned before, or I think I showed it before, I didn't mention it, AI has a large footing in customer support. So people don't want to read lengthy FAQ documents and so forth. They also don't want to type, right? So I think this is a learning that I've had recently just over the years. What if you could basically, these chatbots which currently summarize and help information, what if you could stick a human avatar in front of that and have like a voice-based conversation way of interacting with them? So it feels like they're speaking to a human, but really all that's going on behind the hood is some AI is reading from your knowledge base or your internal documentation, and you're just plugging the results of this text into HeyGen or Synthesia and showing the end result to the customer, so it feels like they're actually talking to a human. Now, the takeaway from all of this is you guys are going to come across probably way more tools than I'm going to come across which actually utilize AI for marketing purposes. Start thinking of these as components, okay? Start thinking of these as, hey, this tool can do X. HeyGen can create me synthetic avatars. ChatGPT can create copy. ChatGPT can also read my documentation. Can we plug these together? And when you start thinking like that, you might be able to come up with innovative ideas which allow you to utilize AI to actually create front-facing products that can scale previously laborious processes that you might have had going on within the company. Okay, I'll talk about back-end marketing for a little bit now. And I'm just personally inherently a little bit more excited about the potential of back-end marketing because I don't think these are as easily commoditizable as the front-facing marketing, which is mostly just, hey, let's generate more content. For me, that use case already exists. I personally find that a little bit boring. Valuable, but it doesn't excite me intrinsically. Back-end marketing, as I've mentioned, allows you to systematize workflows, and as I think this lady over there mentioned, gain deeper insights into your customers, knowing what content to create, and helping out with the decision-making processes, which better appeal to your customers. So what I'm going to do is talk about a consultation that I've had, which I think is a nifty little product. And this is on the concept of a licorice-flavored soft drink. This is not the licorice-flavored soft drink or the actual use case, but just an example I thought of for this talk. So somebody here who works in CPG or FMCG, would this licorice-flavored soft drink sell? And if you don't have the answer to that, can you tell me what are the decisions that you would make in terms of trying to validate whether this product would sell or not? Who's done product launches before? Hey.
Yeah, I'd say it would probably sell in some markets, but it wouldn't sell en masse.
Okay, and what markets would you, or how would you validate what markets it would sell in?
You just control the variables like geolocations, for example.
Okay, so what are you looking for in these locations?
Sales of licorice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Concepts that appeal to that sort of messaging, gross stuff.
You know, I was going to say, I don't think many people would like that kind of design, but then I saw this liquid death can, and obviously, maybe it does work, so who knows. So kind of the learnings I've had so far is the traditional process is very lengthy. People would go to the geography or the market where they're looking to launch in, they'd scour the supermarkets, they'd look through the aisles, they'd run focus groups, and before they launch, they might run some pop-up stores in order to validate whether this item will sell or not. However, product launches, despite going through these due diligence, still fail, okay? So what we can do is exactly what you mentioned. Look at attributes of the item and see whether it aligns with the culture of a geography, market, or audience that you're looking at. So just based on this bottle here, what I can say is, hey, we have the bottle shape, we have the design, and perhaps more importantly, we have the taste of the drink itself, okay? So what if we were able to use AI to analyze this data en masse? We have review data on Amazon. We have SEO results, which we could use as some form of proxy metrics. What if we were able to say, okay, if AI could break down these different attributes that I mentioned, and individually we can look at relevant data or proxy data to validate whether each one of these attributes actually will work in given that SEO or review data. So kind of the point I'm making here is that in the UK, we don't have too many proxy licorice products, right? We might have some sweets, we might have some alcohol, but outside of that, I don't really see anything too much at the stores. Whereas from my research, I don't know if this is true or not, in Italy, they have a bit more of a positive reception towards licorice. I've even heard they have licorice toothpaste there. So they're kind of used to the dynamics and the existence of like licorice flavored stuff. And this is not stuff that you would need to go to another country to actually validate. You could feed this into this hypothetical tool and say, okay, well, on this licorice flavor, this market actually favors, there's more licorice-based items in Italy. They like having this flavor. And therefore, you can be more confident in your actual decision-making process about whether this could sell or not. Now, I want to encourage this twofold level thinking, okay? So identifying where these lengthy and costly processes are and asking how we can systematize this based on AI, and also questioning whether other companies would be doing the same thing that you're thinking of doing. And will you be at a competitive disadvantage if you don't adopt or create a new workflow for these costly and lengthy processes? So I'd like to leave you with this question, is how can we use AI to gain insights at scale? I think I might be out of time because I see 0 on there, but feel free to brainstorm this with me back and forth. Outside of that, yeah, thank you for the talk.
Thank you, guys. Big round of applause for Nihir.